Good morning. Welcome all of you to this gathering on December the 30th, on this Sunday morning, that we have braved the world and the snow and the cold and come here to warm each other and be together in community. This is a good morning when we can be together. We'll spend a few moments sharing some upcoming life and work within the community, and I know a few of you have a few things you want to share, so without further ado, Bernie.
I couldn't find a bigger bell. Okay, so ring out the old and ring in the new. Okay, where? Right here. Okay, and when? December 31st. That's tomorrow night. Okay, from about 6 to 10. It'll be, dinner will be at about 6:30, and we have midnight at 9:30. So we can all toddle off home after we clean up a bit. Okay. Pardon? Well, there's more. So who? Anybody who wants. There's a sign-up sheet out there. So we know that there's going to be some coming, and if you want to sign up and say if you want to help out, that's great, but do not come if you decide tomorrow night you want to do something. Everybody's welcome, okay? So don't think, oh, I didn't sign up, so I can't go. No, come. All right, so, and what to bring? It's potluck, so bring some food to share. Bring your own plates, cutlery, mugs, etc., because we don't want anybody hanging out in the kitchen too much. So you bring them clean, hopefully, and you take them home dirty, or you can rinse them off yourself if you want. But just take them home and deal with them at home, okay? Let's see, what else have I got here? And yeah, that's so no one has to out in the kitchen. Bring board games, a puzzle if you want. There'll be a few games going on. We'll have our hokey pokey and things like that. There'll be music. It's on my computer, so at least one person will like it. And let's see, what else do I have? And we'll have some fun dances. And there'll be dancing for those who want to dance, walking, and just general community. Okay? So tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, right here. Okay? There you go.
I don't have a fancy bell, I'm sorry. So my name is Dylan, if you don't already know. I run Saga Edmonton, and I know that everyone here has been having a bit of a crisis. And that crisis has been, I want to do something really gay in the new year, but I don't know what. Well, do I have the event for you. So, Saga Edmonton, if you don't already know, we're Sexual and Gender Acceptance Edmonton. We're an LGBTQ nonprofit here in Edmonton. And we're going to be holding a brunch here on January 12th, in a few weeks, to raise money for, our organization so we can continue doing great events, but also we're going to be donating some of that to Alberta Gay Straight Alliances. So, it's going to be a really nice brunch here at 11 a.m. Here, yeah. Dr. Glenys Lieb, she's the new executive director of the Institute for Sexual Minority Studies and Services at the University of Alberta, and she's going to be speaking. And yeah, tickets are $35 for adults, $25 for students if you have a valid student ID, youth under 18, it's a kind of a pay what you can sort of thing. We're going to have childcare available as well. So we'll be taking, if you want to purchase tickets, we'll be out in the foyer after service today. You can come see myself or Dara, and we can get you set up. Sound good? Cool.
As we've been through the days of leading up to Christmas and Christmas Day and Boxing Day, we're in those days of in-between time. We're in those times where it's perhaps quiet, perhaps company has left, perhaps we're in the midst of cleaning up messes or making new ones. But what we're about in this time seems to be transition, moving from one thing to the next. And so as we open ourselves into this time together where we consider the end of a new year, the gratitude we have for it, and the start of something new, may we open ourselves to that time, and may we open to the gifts of newness. That's the phrase that I invite you to respond with as we kind of open with some opening sentences. As we gather in community, both with old friends and ones we've yet to meet, may we open to the gifts of newness. As we ponder direction, motivation, our place in the world, and the role we will play in it, may we open to the gifts of newness. With the support of community and the encouragement of those that walk with us, may we open to the gifts of newness. Even in our insecurity, our unknowing, and our questioning of what might come next, may we open to the gifts of newness. Let's spend some time being fully present in this space and with each other as we listen to some beautiful music. Thanks, Gavin. We take this time to welcome each and every one of you to the life and the time together of SSUC, of Southminster Steinhauer United Church. We have gathered in this circle, but many gather with us regardless of where you are, and so I welcome all of you joining us via live stream or by our video during the week this week. I talked to many people on Christmas Eve and through the week that said, I'm not sure if I'll see you on the 30th. It seemed like a good day to just take it easy. So for those of you who said, I might just tune in online, good morning, welcome. I hope you're comfy in your PJs. We should have had a PJ day here. That would have been fun. Next year. Regardless of where we are, this is a community and this is a place where we are all welcome, where we are a part of the circle and we're invited to open ourselves to compassion and to depth and to knowing that each moment of our living is important and that we can gather together if every week, if every month, if every now and then, to remind ourselves of the importance of living well, and the importance of being together in community, however we find it. As we gather, we recognize that we do so on Treaty 6 territory, and we're always aware and acknowledging that for this place, this land, this inheritance that we share, it's a thing to be grateful for. That we join with our Treaty 6 brothers and sisters, our Métis friends, and all who call this land their ancestral and adopted home. And that we commit to the relationship that means for us to be on this land. To not just speak it in words, but to live it in actions with our relationships and with our commitment to compassion and reconciliation. We should sing. Let's sing some gratitude. As we close the year, as we gather in this place, we'll speak words and sing words of gratitude today. It's in that spirit of gratitude and hope that we light this candle this morning. This candle that burns always in the center of community. This candle that reminds us of our light, our hope, our gratitude for not just this day, but this life that we live. And as we have lit the candle, may we speak words that join us and gather us together in our intentions and awareness. We are here in the turn of a new year with a desire to cultivate a positive spiritual life. We lift our voices with a shared commitment to seek ways to live fully and love deeply, to be inspired by the teachings of Jesus, which nudge us into new ways of thinking and being, to discover new ways to receive and offer compassion. May we open to the wisdom that invites us to nurture habits that will shape our living in soulful ways, today and always. I have a story to share today, and I'm going to share it from right here. So pretend the whole circle is our carpet, and I'm going to share, pictures will be on the screen, and I should really have the book because that helps to read a story if you have the book. This story is called The Perfect Percival Priggs. Percival Priggs, you're just in time. Percival Priggs was perfect. His parents were perfect. His grandparents were perfect. Even his pets were perfect. They each had a shelf to display their awards. And they were always competing for more. Percy found the business of being perfect exhausting. But he was scared that his parents wouldn't love him if he wasn't. So he said nothing. If you ever asked him how he was, he would smile his prize-winning smile and say, "I'm perfect, thank you." One weekend, the family was hard at work preparing for their upcoming competitions. Percy was entered in so many categories, he didn't even like half the things he'd been entered in. I'll read you just a few of them. Checkmate Chess Club, Mathematics Crown for Careful Calculators, the Physics Fair for Gloriously Gifted Geeks, Beautiful Bedroom Award, Classics Crown for Latin Linguists, Marvelous Monologue Trophy, on and on and on. So he came up with a plan to finish faster. He invented some doodads. But he made a slight miscalculation. Percy's rocket was definitely not perfect, and now neither was anything else. His parents were going to be furious. But they weren't. "Percy, are you all right?" said his mother. "I'm okay, Mom, but I've ruined everything. I'll never be perfect like you and Dad." Mrs. Priggs just laughed. "Maybe there's something we should show you." Up to the attic they go. "These are all the things that didn't quite work. And look at this," says Mom. She pulls out the photo album and shows numerous pictures. "Your father didn't win any prizes for this experiment," Mrs. Priggs said. "And your mother's coconut and chili cake wasn't exactly a hit," said Mr. Priggs. "This was your father a week after he won the Spick and Span Car Award. And your mother's first piano recital didn't go too well. Then your father wore the wrong glasses to the Heavenly Hedges competition. And your mother's dog training didn't always go as planned. We're not perfect, but we love what we do, so we keep trying. But I don't even like much of what I do," said Percival. "Well then," said Mom, "find out what you do love." So Percy found things he loved. And he tried, and failed, and tried again. Now Percy's shelf looks a lot different. They're full of crazy-looking awards, like the Wriggliest Worm competition, the Stupendous Sandcastle of the Day, the Goopy Gel Award for the Most Magnificent Mohawk, the Super Scribbler, the Sharpshooter. There's so many. But his favorite award of all is the one he didn't need to earn. Best son ever, Percival Priggs. That is the end. We're going to sing a little piece of A Christmas Carol. And I know it's not much, but the words in this little refrain of A Christmas Carol are perfect for this time after Christmas, and perhaps perfect for a story like The Perfect Percival Priggs. Let's sing.
forget about what's happened. Don't keep going over old history. Be alert. Be present for a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? There will be a way in the wilderness. There will be rivers in the desert. In this writing from a Hebrew prophet in the 7th century BCE, may we find wisdom for our living.
A writing by Neil Gaiman called My New Year's Wish. I hope that in this year to come, you all make mistakes. Because if you're making mistakes, then you are making new things. Trying new things, learning, living, pushing yourself, changing your world. You're doing things you've never done before. And more importantly, you're doing something. So that's my wish for you and all of us, and my wish for myself. Make new mistakes. Make glorious, amazing mistakes. Make mistakes nobody's ever made before. Don't freeze, don't stop, don't worry that it isn't good enough or it isn't perfect, whatever it is, art, love, work, family, life, whatever it is you're scared of doing. Do it. Make your mistakes next year and forever. What's the harm? We'll learn. This is the writing of a contemporary American author. May we find wisdom for our living. And the third piece of wisdom today comes from a video made a few years ago, which I find fascinating. It's called The Time You Have in Jelly Beans. Oh, nice.
These are roughly 28,835 jelly beans. I counted out 500 of them and used those to weigh the rest. In this pile, there's one jelly bean for each day that the average American will live. You might have more beans in your life, or maybe less, but on average, this is the time we have. Here's a single bean. It's your very first day. A special day, but kind of a rough day on everyone involved. Add 364 more and you have the first year of your life. Now, for a sense of scale, here are your first 15 years, 5,475 days, which brings us to the threshold of adulthood. And at that moment, this is the time that we have left. And this is, on average, what we will do with all that time. We will be asleep for a total of 8,477 days. If we're lucky, some of that time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We'll be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying, for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent commuting or traveling from one place to another, maybe a little bit more if you live in LA. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities, like chores and tending to our pets and shopping, will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing, grooming, and doing all other bathroom-related activities, and another 720 days will go to community activities, like religious and civic duties, charities, and taking classes. After we remove all those beans, this is what remains. This is the time that we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making art, going on hikes, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing softball, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So what are you going to do with this time? How much of it do you think you've already used up? If you only had half of it, what would you do differently? What about half of that? How much time have you already spent worrying instead of doing something that you love? What if you just had one more day? What are you going to do today?
In this surprising visual representation, may we find wisdom for our living. It's on days like today that are slow, maybe a bit more simple, that we can take time and reflect on the gratitude that we have for the past year. I know it's not over yet. There's a day and a half left. But the gratitude we've had for 2018, perhaps the hope that we have as we move into a new year. And it's a time for sharing that gratitude that we can do in community with each other. And so I ask us and invite us into a time of community sharing and prayer, that we might offer a gratitude, perhaps a hope. And if you have something to share, just throw up your hand and I'll get a microphone to you. And if at the end of your word or phrase of sharing, if you could speak the words "in this sharing," that'll be all of our cue to respond to each person with the words, "May love abound." So let's enter into this time of gratitude and of hopefulness.
Yesterday, we celebrated the 3rd birthday of our youngest granddaughter, Serenity, and it was a time of great joy for us and a wonder. The last 3 years have been absolutely magnificent. Sharing our prayers of gratitude and hope.
May love abound.
For the compassion and empathy and wonderful outreach from this community and my friends and family in this sharing.
May love abound.
The joys of having my family from California here and living with us for 6-10 days, but it's a lot of gratitude and love shared in this sharing.
Last month, my 95-year-old half-sister passed away very peacefully in Hong Kong. I'm very, very grateful. I had the opportunity to go back home to attend her funeral, to connect with family and friends. Most grateful to be there. In this sharing.
I'm grateful for long-distance phone calls, because that's the only way I can share some time with my sister who lives in Amsterdam and keeps me up to date with what's going on there. So, sharing our prayers, whatever I'm supposed to say.
May love abound.
Over this past year, many of us who are in this room today have walked a great adventure with Mohammed, Aisha, and their 4 children, because they arrived just over a few days and a year ago from Syria. It has been an adventure that we have worked hard, we have laughed a great deal, we have used Google Translate till I think I've worn the button off my phone, and we are delighted with their resilience and the hope that they bring for a better life for all of them in this sharing.
I'm grateful for my grandchildren, both birth and chosen grandchildren, and also my mother, who turned 98 yesterday.
In this sharing.
Tomorrow my granddaughter is due to give birth for her first child, so I hope everything goes well in this sharing.
I think children always bring light into our lives, and I don't know how many of you can say that you're great-grandparents, but I just had my 8-month-old granddaughter visiting, and she certainly brought light to my life. In this sharing.
I'm happy to be here today with all of you. Excuse me, after the minor stroke I had a week ago. So, in this sharing,
I'm grateful for 12-step programs so that those suffering from addictions can find the God of their understanding and walk the path to recovery.
In this sharing.
I'm very grateful for the safe birth of our first child, and thankful to everyone in this church for being so welcoming, and it's been a fantastic experience so far. Thank you very much, everyone, in this sharing.
I'm so grateful to have been included into this community since Thanksgiving in this sharing.
She said music. She's a singer.
In this sharing,
I'm very grateful for Tuesday Connection, the support that I get from that group, and the learning that goes on a regular basis. In this sharing,
I'm grateful for Chris and Nancy and for this congregation. After reading Tara Westover's book, Education, this woman came out of a fundamentalist Mormon family. I think I came out of a fundamentalist Catholic religion. I'm so grateful for this church and all of you and our ministry.
in this sharing, may love abound. I'll add to that and say I'm grateful and hopeful that Nancy and Don can be enjoying a week in California this week. As I drove here this morning, I thought of them. And know they're having a wonderful time and a much needed break, which Nancy will repay to me next week. In this sharing, may love abound. It's wonderful to share as community, and I know that we could do this all morning. We could share gratitudes. We could move into the hopes we have for our world and our communities. But for all the prayers that stay here close to us, that we don't have words to speak or courage to speak aloud, may those be just as held by us as community, and together may we pray those, and may love abound in each of those situations. Let's sing our prayer as we sing about a new day dawning. New way to be. Introduce you to, or reintroduce you to a tradition that we experimented with last year and we're going to reprise again this year. And before I do that, I just want to say one little thing about the readings and the video we shared today. All of these readings reflected wisdom that might be helpful as we turn the calendar over to a new one and greet a new year. The ancient Hebrew prophet Isaiah spoke millennia ago about the danger of dwelling too much on the past. Good to be grateful for it, but harmful when we live in that past place and let it hold back what could be new, what could be transforming, what could be something else. Replaying it again and again doesn't help our present or our future, but rather, the prophet says, be alert and present to what is happening now. We might make a new thing appear on the horizon in lots of different ways. It's like dwelling on the jelly beans that have already passed, the ones we've already spent, or in my case, eaten It doesn't do much good to think about how much time is gone. The best and most productive way to live is to savor and to plan, to appreciate and fully live whatever Jelly Bean days we might have in front of us. If it's just one, then that jelly bean is going to be the most delicious, most full, most wonderful day. The author of our children's book, Julianne Graham, and Neil Gaiman in his journal remind us that in this time of resolutions and beginnings, there's no such thing as a perfect life. And striving for such a thing is a recipe for disappointment, and what a good reminder that is, that life is imperfect. See, it's okay. If we weren't adults, we'd all be making that sound. It's how we respond to our imperfections that's more important than questing for the perfection. So, in Neil Gaiman's words, we're encouraged to make mistakes and make new ones. Try new things, and when the mistakes happen, make something beautiful out of them, and keep trying, or leave it and try something else. I had an improv teacher in music school that said to us over and over and over again, when you're improvising and you make a mistake, that isn't a mistake, make it 2 more times, and then it's exactly what you intended it to be. A mistake in music repeated is just, oh, that's an interesting part of the music. In our hopes for the new year, then, whether we keep trying or we leave what we need to leave and move on to something new, it's a recipe for what can be something not to be missed. In our hopes for a new year, I want to tell you again about an old tradition, a small Christian denomination called the Moravians, who were centered in a small region of Germany named Herrnhut, which is what you'd call in today's language a cooperative. They lived together, they built the community together, they ate together, they worshiped together. The whole town was the congregation. And this community, beginning in about 1720, began a tradition of holding a New Year's Eve service called a watch night service. And they did so to give thanks for the old year and to express their hopes for a new year. Well, that sounds kind of familiar. And they included all the usual things, singing and praying and reflecting and preaching and all the things you'd expect, but it also included a time where they selected watch words. That's what they called them. As households, they chose them. As individuals, they chose them. And they chose these words at random. And perhaps they ascribed a bit more divine power to them than we might. But they chose them that those words might give them a focus or something to ponder that would guide them through the coming year. So, inspired by this old story, we've prepared words today on cards. Values for our living. Words that if you've hung around this community for any length of time, you'd be quite familiar with. They're words that we intend and aspire to cultivate in our lives. They're words that we might ponder as a possible watchword for our living in the coming months. And now it's random. You're going to choose out of these baskets if you so desire. So perhaps it speaks to us and perhaps it doesn't. It's a toss-up. Perhaps what is unclear now, though, may focus and by June or September all of a sudden have different meaning to you. We don't ascribe any special meaning to the words that we choose at the end and beginning of a year. Just as you wouldn't ascribe any particular power to reading the tea leaves or the astrology maps or the fortune you get at the end of your Chinese food meal. It has whatever meaning we ascribe to it. So View these words as words that might inspire you, that can perhaps become an area of growing or deepening or wondering. Perhaps they go on the fridge, on your desk, on the bathroom mirror, in your car, wherever, to be another reminder of the ways we wish to live and speak in the world, or a challenge. So as this centuries-old New Year's tradition transformed into something that we might use today, may it be for us what we make it. May we select some watchwords for 2019, and may they find a place in our lives and in our living. In whatever spacious way you'd like to come forward or not, please, let's use this time for these watchwords. This is just a quick time in our gathering where we can have some gratitude for all the ways that we together work to make this community what it is, that we work to hold each other and care for each other, and that we work to be a place where from our community, from this place, out into the broader world goes our care, our compassion, and our aid in so many different ways. And so thank you for all of you who have supported the life and the work of this community throughout 2018, and for all the ways that we might find that we do so in the year to come. Many of us give to the life of the community through pre-authorized remittance that comes out of our bank accounts every month, and we barely even notice, and that's why a thank you is appropriate, because there's no act involved. There's nothing that happens there on a weekly basis. So thank you for all of you who committed to doing that. And for those of you that place an envelope inside the box that is right at our doors as you leave this room, thank you for the ways you contribute and for all our time and energy and all the ways that go into who we are. Our gratitude is not near enough, but as often as we can speak it, we will. So thank you. On this last time that we get to blow out this candle in the year 2018, we are going with the light of Spirit and the light of hope in us and amongst us, that we take this light with us. Though we blow it out in this room, it goes living, breathing, acting in all of us. So may we go with the light and Spirit, the joy of 2018, and may we take that into another year, giving hope to others, living our best human selves for the world.